Okay, hello. Good evening, and thank you all for coming tonight. I know it's not an opportune time with lots of activities after our long work day and also dinner. That's important. So I do appreciate you showing up tonight. Tonight is an opportunity for us to gather together as a community and share your ideas on what we're looking for in an ideal candidate. That's going to include both the technical and interpersonal strengths that we're looking for in an ideal candidate. We're also going to talk about what you love about Pasadena and why you think this is an amazing town that a next city manager would want to come to. That's going to help me also market your community as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the recruitment process. I'll take some questions, and I'll start off with an introduction. My name is Wendy Brown. I'm the recruiter that's going to be managing the recruitment for your next city manager. So I've been in recruiting for a little over 20 years. Started up my career in recruiting in the County of Orange. Worked in the CEO Human Resources Department for a while there. Started my own business doing recruiting services in 2004 and been serving California in public sector and nonprofit recruitments for about 18 years now. So that's a little bit about me. I'm excited about working on this recruitment in particular. I think Pasadena is an amazing community. I've been looking at it from a different lens, from a recruiter lens, for the last 24 hours. And amazing, what I'm really discovering about Pasadena that I never noticed before with a different lens on, and the historic and wonderful community that you have here. So one of the things I want to talk about is I think some people may have some, opportune time to talk about what kind of that SWOT, what worked, what isn't, what are the strengths, opportunities, what things have been working, what hasn't. I think that if we can continue to look forward thinking, not what you're upset about in the past, but thinking about the things that you didn't like in the past, help you identify what you're looking for in the future. So if we could put that spin on the conversation tonight, so we can make sure we're staying positive and you're helping me identify what the core competencies and experience that you're looking for to help meet where those gaps may have been in the past. One of the other things that happens sometimes in group meetings is people present things that are off topic. I'm happy to stay here afterwards and talk about some things that might be important to you, that may be semi-related to this or important for you to have a conversation about. But if it's not about the recruitment or the ideal candidate or about what makes your community amazing, I'm going to put that in the parking lot. And if you'd like to stay with me after we're done here this evening, or my information is available. It's out there on the survey. I'm not sure if you saw the public survey that's out there. It's on the website, the city's website, if you haven't seen it. My contact information's on there. You're welcome to email me or call me to set up some time to have a continued conversation. So that's the parking lot. We'll take some questions. I'm going to actually switch on this piece of paper here. We'll talk about the recruitment process first, and then I'll take questions. So because we have the by the way, I know I was supposed to have a start signal. We have the media here today, so in order for them to make sure they're hearing your questions, we'd like you to come up to the mic. So that's why we have the mics up here to the left and the right of me, so you can choose either one. And the time frame that we're going to give everybody that I don't really think we should need is 1 minute. Now, if you're here to represent two different organizations, which I've had a couple people ask me if they could have 2 minutes, I don't think that there's a problem with that, unless there is some concern with anybody else here in the community that if somebody's here to represent two organizations that they get 2 minutes. Is that okay? Anybody concerned with that? If you could raise your hand. Yes.
1 minute is a little short to say anything meaningful. Maybe a little bit more?
1 minute is really all we have, because I think we have about 40 people in the room here, and there's a lot more that I want to talk about. I want to listen mostly today, but I think that there's a lot of things that you want to hear from me as well. So I want to make sure we have a little bit of time in the end. So I think 1 minute. And again, you've got my contact information if you don't see me afterwards, and I'll make sure that you have my email and phone number, and we can talk further. Okay? Anybody else concerned about the 1 or 2 minute time frame? Okay. All right, so we're going to get started. Again, thank you. I'd like to start off first with just hearing from folks about what you think is great about Pasadena. The information that I collect from you this evening and from all the other listening tour that I'm doing with the council and other stakeholders is that's going to help me really be able to talk to the city managers that apply for this position and help them understand why Pasadena would be a great place for their family, for them to want to work and live here. So if anybody would like to talk about what you think is amazing about your community, that you think that I and the incumbent or the incoming city manager should know about, I'd love to hear from you, and I invite you up to the microphone.
I have some challenges.
Is there anybody here that wants to say something that they love about their community? Okay, we've got somebody starting.
So this is not necessarily about what I love about Pasadena, but years ago I had a hand in starting Leadership Pasadena. And one of the statistics that was floating around at that time was the demographics in Pasadena was similar to what demographics would be across the whole United States in 50 years. So I think Pasadena is a unique test bed for ideas and unique practices that the whole United States may be facing in the future. So there's a huge opportunity there, especially with respect to addressing the climate emergency.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anybody else?
Are these in addition to any statements we have?
So when we get to, one of the questions was, can we do this and in addition to any other statements we have? So this is, let's call this separate from any other statements you have. I think the statements would be more along the lines of, I heard that, maybe there's some challenges in the community, right? So that would be helpful for me to hear. Here's the challenges, for instance, let's just pick something that's generic. We have too many potholes in the street. We need somebody who is going to take care of those. Or our infrastructure is old and we need somebody to address those things. So those are the kinds of challenges I'm assuming that I'll be hearing that will translate into we need somebody who has that kind of experience in a past city management position that they've had. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Hello, thank you. I'm a pastor of a local congregation in downtown Pasadena, and one of the things I appreciate is that I'm experiencing more people moving to Pasadena and in the downtown area because they love the opportunity to get out of their car, to take public transit, to walk to where they want to go. And as we in Pasadena meet the climate crisis, I think it's going to be increasingly important for us to have non-car modes for people to get around. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're starting to talk about a little bit about what we're looking for in an ideal candidate. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything about the city as far as what you enjoy about your community?
Yeah, I lived in Los Angeles for 20 years, and I've been in Pasadena for the past 20 years. And Los Angeles is great, but you can be autonomous, and you sort of live your own life. In Pasadena, I find that one, it's far more diverse than I ever anticipated, and two, if you're interested in doing something, all you have to do is raise your hand in this city, and someone will put you on a committee or engage you in a way that I think it's in the air. And I feel that in Pasadena, there are people here at many different levels coming into this experience, and I think they're trying to make the city a better place. And we know that we always have a lot to do, but I feel that in a way that you don't feel it in a big city, so.
Thank you.
Hello. I've been here for about a year,
Okay.
so it's pretty surfacey what I've noticed, but I love the mountain range. The architecture is so charming. It kind of feels like a Mayberry close to Los Angeles, which is like a dream come true for me.
Okay.
I like that it's clean. I feel like people are generally pretty happy and friendly here. I don't know if I feel relatively safe. I lived in LA for 7 years. I lived in San Francisco for 7 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to just kind of relax a bit
Yeah.
compared to that, where I felt like I had to really watch my back.
Right.
And I'm hoping we can keep it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I'll leave it at that.
All right.
Pasadena is a city with a lot of privilege. Being that I am biracial, Latina, and white, I grew up with a lot of privilege. And as I was in high school, I went to a private high school, and it was like living in an alternate reality. So there is a lot of deadly privilege here as well. For example, even the fact that most of us entered this building today from an entrance with an altar set up for Kendrick McDade, who was killed today 10 years ago. And the officers who killed him, Matthew Griffin and Jeffrey Newland, are still working on the police department.
Ma'am.
And
Okay, so I would more than happy give you, this is actually just not the right time. Can we wait till we get to the ideal candidate? I'm more than happy to give her my time. The question is, what's great about Pasadena? Can I ask you this? Well, okay. What's wonderful about living here, and I would be more than happy to give you a minute once we get to the ideal candidate in the
the
conversation.
family of Kendrick McDade deserves accountability.
Ma'am.
They deserve whatever
Ma'am.
justice
It's not fair
possible.
that you're not listening, because I think that I'll be more than happy to give you enough time, but right now is not the time to be talking about that.
Or you want to know actually about real Pasadena and negative for real that exist. You want to hear it's beautiful, but people are dying without a justice. That's what we're here for. So
All I'm asking is for us to stick with the agenda, and I'm more than happy. So, and we. Thank you. I'm gonna. Okay. Thank you.
I happen to be Hispanic also. I know you don't.
Okay,
That's the
you know
issue.
what?
But
This is an opportunity for us to get together as a community. I completely appreciate and welcome everybody's opinion, even colorful language. I don't have a problem with that. But I would like to, the only way for you to be able to speak your mind and the only way for us to get through tonight is for us to be able to at least have some kind of quorum where we can share our thoughts and opinions.
no, she was supposed to talk about what's good about
Yeah,
Pasadena,
well-
not the issue.
Okay, I promise we'll have time for that conversation, okay?
Just real quickly, I just want to say that I am a native of Pasadena, but I did not live here all my life. I came back to Pasadena in '62. I've lived other places around the country. I've lived in my current house since '71. So I've seen a lot of Pasadena. Pasadena is a very diverse community. We have a diverse group of people. She can talk about race any way she wants to, but that's not the primary issue. It's how the races are treated and how the people are treated. And the fact that Pasadena is very diverse is important. We are, for a city of our size, we have more of everything than a lot of cities even close to our size, including our Rose Parade, our Rose Bowl, our churches, our racial problems. Other issues are great for Pasadena, but Pasadena has opportunities for everyone, and we need, like she's trying to get to, a city manager that can address the disparities that you're trying to talk about. But that's another issue that's not on the table. It's what's good about Pasadena and what Pasadena has to offer.
Thank you.
And what Pasadena is. Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone who has come before me has talked about how wonderfully diverse Pasadena is and what type of population we have. And I would like to just address something. Pasadena is one of the most culturally rich cities I have ever been in. We have so much to offer. Basically, you don't even have to leave Pasadena if you don't want to. You have the Huntington, you have the Norton Simon, you have the Pasadena Playhouse, you have Noise Within, you have events at the Rose Bowl, you have the Rose Parade, you have football games, you have JPL, you have Caltech, Beckman Auditorium. It's amazing. And somebody else mentioned you could just walk down the street and be recruited to join anything. I think you're the gentleman who said that. There are opportunities to get involved, and there's lectures, there's forums, just about anything you could imagine, just right here. Don't even have to leave the city.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Hello. So my name is Elise, and I have lived in Pasadena at some points, and other points I've lived on the outskirts. I currently live in Glendora. I probably do over 300 hours a year in volunteerism here in Pasadena, and my doctors of all sorts and much more are in Pasadena. So I always have considered Pasadena my community. The things I like about Pasadena, I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect, because Pasadena, like any city, has growth opportunities, and we'll talk about those later. But when you look at Pasadena, when I look at the number of organizations, volunteer organizations in this community, there's just an abundance of organizations that are trying to do things that positively impact and make a difference in this community. And so that's one of the things of many I like. Other things have been mentioned when you start looking at culture, restaurants, entertainment, people. I mean, my experience here in multiple ways has been very positive. And that is a part of what I like and love about Pasadena.
Thank you very much.
With all due respect, Ms. Brown, I don't think we should be convincing anyone that Pasadena is a city worth managing. We're speaking right here at a top-ranked community college. We have a Tier 1 research-based university right back door. We have a federal space facility. We have a world-renowned stadium, and we have an oasis that surrounds the geographic makeup of this city. So I think the real question is not, is Pasadena a city worth managing? I think the real question is our next city manager capable and most of all willing to tackle the issues that this city has?
So since I don't see anybody behind you, I just want to make sure there's nobody else that wants to talk about the city as far as, hold on just a second. Anybody that wants to talk about that subject, about what you enjoy personally about living or working in Pasadena? Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and give you a minute if you'd like to go ahead and talk about what you're looking for in an ideal candidate, which is what I think you're trying to say is what you're getting to. So I'll go ahead and get the timing started. Go ahead.
Well, I don't think a minute is enough, but so I think one of the many challenges that this city has, particularly city government, is the lack of trust that there is between many members of its community. For example, I represent Northwest Pasadena. If you're not familiar with what Northwest Pasadena is, it is the area of the city that has the most Black, the most brown, the most immigrant, the most undocumented, the most low-income residents of this city that have least access to basic needs, that are most impacted by policing, and are also the backbone of the economy of this city. Many of them have a great distrust with current city government, and if you are following local news, it's only gotten worse. So my question to the new city manager candidate is, what do you know about what's going on in this city? And what are you willing to do in order to mend the problems that happen in this city? Because any city manager can come in here and fix a pothole or do an aesthetic change on the city and call it a day, but it takes a true challenge to come in here and develop relationships with lifelong residents that are impacted and underserved in this city, that are standing here today vocalizing the issues that we're still having to push, still having to deal with.
Thank you.
My name is John Furman. Pasadena faces huge financial problems. Rose Bowl, Convention Center, the library. Faces significant management challenges, first and foremost the police department, also the utility department. Has a regional mandate to build 9,000 new units that no one wants to build. Faces an aging workforce, and has a city council that would charitably be described as activist and uncharitably described as not knowing its place.
Okay.
So how do we assess whether a city manager candidate can and is willing to tackle those challenges?
Thank you. I would translate that into maybe fiscal oversight responsibilities or experience with a very large, hundreds of millions of dollars of a budget. The other I would translate into is not many city managers have to oversee an electric utility, which is a very large and robust electric utility. So I think that I would translate maybe that to the competencies or skill sets we're looking for.
Our aggregate budget is over $750 million.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Hi, my name's Rob. I'm here representing one of those volunteer organizations in Pasadena called the Citizens Climate Lobby. So, I mean, very briefly, I mean, I have lots of reasons. We all hear about why I want this, but I want to see a climate champion selected as the next city manager. There's a nice foil there talking about the PWP, the utility. So the utility needs to be encouraged. There's a lot of very good people at the utility, but they need to be encouraged. They need to be shown the way, and really we need somebody who's going to be a champion in City Hall, corralling both the council and PWP, and show them that it is very important that we get to 100% clean energy in a very short period of time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, sure. If you don't mind saying your name, it's not required, but it would be nice. Thank you.
Sure. My name is Cynthia Kennedy. I'm a Pasadena resident, District 6. I think there are two issues that I see as compelling. The first is police abuse and lack of transparency about it. It's just tearing the community apart. It's very serious. The other is my particular interest, which is climate action. We are at a tremendously important time. The next several years are going to make a difference to really our lives. Every summer we're burning up. You know, I don't even need to go into the problems that we're experiencing, public health problems. We're going to have to make a transition away from fossil fuels. And there's no strategy to do that. Okay. You know, there are plans and discussions, but really there's no vision. So in order to accomplish this transition, I wrote down 5 things that I think the new city manager is going to really need to do, or his attributes. He has to have vision about being a climate action leader. He has to have strong management skills, including the capacity to lead and coordinate greenhouse gas reduction strategy over the city's many departments that sort of get involved in this. 3, understanding energy generation and distribution enough so that he can work confidently and oversee the direction of PWP. 4th, knowledge of budgetary factors affecting the transition to renewable energy. And 5, maybe most important, commitment to transparency and responsiveness in dealing with elected officials,
your time is up.
civic organizations, and the public.
Okay. Hi.
Thanks, Wendy, for hosting this. My name's John Howell. I'm representing the Arroyos and Foothills Conservancy. I'm a lifelong resident. In fact, my mother was in the cradle room at Pasadena Presbyterian Church, so we go back here. I've served on a board for low-cost housing, historic preservation, and other things, but now my passion is conservation, so I appreciate the comments of the last 2 speakers. And I'm hoping that the city manager, I appreciate everybody's comments, and there's much to be said for the community, and there's much to be done. But I hope that the city manager has an eye toward what is challenging the planet today. We can't just be local and I'm going to read something real quickly. I'm part of a group that has provided information, group of 20 organizations, to the state of California to take to the United Nations Convention on Biodiversity. So this is our perspective that we hope that California passes along.
I want to let you know you only have 30 seconds, though. I just want to make sure we're clear, just to be fair.
And it all boils down to local action. Biodiversity means local action.
Okay.
Ann? I'll just speak to you in more depth.
Yeah. Not right in front of me.
Okay.
So I'll make sure I connect with you afterwards.
I'm going to give you a card.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Anybody else that would like to come up, we encourage you. Thank you. So are you representing two organizations?
I'm representing two organizations, and I brought my cane so that people would give me the advantage of jumping the line. But let me start with a little prologue about why my wife and I moved to Pasadena with our 2-year-old son in 1977. We moved here because of an organization called Mothers Club Community Center. Mothers Club Community Center was a parent education and child development center, preschool, that was organized originally so that the partners of incarcerated, mostly men, would have a place to call their community and find support. We felt that a city that had such a wonderful, visionary organization that was supporting those people who were most in need through a volunteer, private, and partially supported state organization would be a wonderful place.
You're 1 minute in, just want to make sure. Okay.
So let me leave that off and just read these two statements quickly. So I represent the Social Justice Committee of Pasadena Jewish Temple. We expect the city manager to reach out and respond to those with no voice. The 60% of our neighbors who are renters, those in need of convenient, affordable housing, victims of crime and of police. Pasadena needs a city manager who will move staff and elected leaders to a coherent trajectory of equity, inclusion, and social and environmental justice. In conjunction with our partners in Pasadena 100, we seek a city manager who will rise to the urgent need of the climate crisis and transition Pasadena to 100% carbon-free energy by 2030. The second organization, which I've already introduced, is Pasadena 100, which is a consortium including the League of Women Voters, through Church, Sierra Club of Pasadena Area, Social Justice Committee, Active San Gabriel Valley, and Citizens Climate Lobby. And we expect that the next city manager will need to take a leadership role in responding to our climate crisis and prioritize the rapid elimination of greenhouse gases in all areas where our city government has control and influence. PWP must plan and implement power production and distribution that recognizes 100% decarbonization by 2030 as a necessary and achievable goal. This will include strategies that integrate building codes and zoning, neighborhood-specific plans, transportation, business, and economic development. Reaching 100% decarbonization will promote the equitable, caring, and livable future of Pasadena. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. I'm Jocelyn Griffin. This young man, he stole my social justice thunder. I'm just kidding. I'm Jocelyn Griffin, and I represent women in NAACP. We are a group that advocates for women and children. I'd like to piggyback on what the gentleman just said in reference to diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. City manager needs to know how to implement DEI and social justice beyond a point of performative things that we do here in the city. So we're looking for someone who has experience embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion in every area of the city, from accounting to selection, recruitment, hiring practices. We're going to look at promotions. We're going to look to see what percentage of folks are getting those promotions and how long they're staying in their jobs. We also want to make sure that city manager has a lens to work with Pasadena Unified School District to ensure that all children—
Can you say that last part again? Pasadena and what?
Unified
Okay,
School District, to ensure that all children, especially those who are marginalized, students with individual education plans or IEPs, those are special education students, that they have access to an equitable and fair education. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
I think we need a city manager who understands that the office of the city manager itself is problematic, as it's not selected by the voters. It's elected by our representatives, and it's the most powerful position in the city. Additionally, I think we need somebody who's not going to continue with the excuse that an administrative review can't take place immediately once an officer-involved shooting has occurred. There's no need to wait for the DA. That is an excuse. I think we need somebody who understands that's an excuse and will not sign off on that. Somebody who has no apprehension to discipline and fire officers who have killed people, Black people, brown people, anyone who was not deserving to be killed.
Thank you.
There's one more thing. I'm kind of blanking.
You're out of time, but if I'll give you a few more seconds to wrap up. Sorry?
Just a moment. Sorry, I just slipped
okay.
from my mind. Okay. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah, you're welcome to come back. Thank you.
Hi there again.
Hi.
My name is Greg Apodaca, and I'm here mostly representing my own organization called Community 2.0. We're involved in mobilizing communities to combat the climate emergency. A friend of mine who's a prominent leader at a nonprofit in Pasadena chose not to come today because she said that it's useless. These kinds of meetings are useless. She talked about past city managers being arrogant and not listening to the people. I think the gist of her comment was we need somebody who's a servant leader who will listen to the people, but as well will have the strength to be a passionate and powerful, innovative leader. Second point, we need a city manager who will say clearly that the climate is in an emergency state, right? What started as global warming 40 years ago is now a climate emergency, and we need a city manager to say that clearly. A third, somebody who's not arrogant and who will understand that there are organizations around the world that are taking the climate emergency seriously and making impressive inroads. Two organizations in particular are C40, a group of larger cities, approximately 100 cities. The other one is the Global Covenant of Mayors. It is much larger, 11,400 cities. These are cities around the world. We need to have the best practices of all these cities brought to Pasadena, and we need to implement those as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaveh. I'm not here to talk to the city. We gave up on that. I'm here to talk to people, our neighbors in Pasadena. I'm not going to explain why we're angry. I'm just wondering why you're not angry. City manager, we're not going to pick it. You're not going to pick it. The city council member is going to pick him. And at the end of the day, no matter what he does, he's not going to be counted. We have seen it. Steve Mermel did everything wrong, and he stayed there till he decided to resign. We have to look at the city council members. We have to vote based on that. We have to vote on the elections that we actually have a call. 1/4 of this city, Northwest Pasadena, doesn't experience what you all experience. That's why it triggers us when someone says all lives matter. All lives won't matter unless Black lives matter too. Unless if you're not counting the Black lives in that. So what we want is, imagine someone kill your son, your grandchildren, your daughter, and still driving. Even if you're a pilot and you cause the death of someone, you would never sit in that chair again. These guys are still driving in the same neighborhoods. They have not been disciplined. We had time after time after time again. And the only person who can actually have him accountable is the city manager. He's the only person who can actually fire the employee. Basically, workers, either is in the fire department, is a clerk, or is a police officer. That's what we're asking.
Sorry.
Is that so hard to understand this? Stand by us for justice if you really mean it. Black lives matter.
Thank you.
Black lives matter.
Thank you. I'm just trying to be fair to everybody, make sure that and he did go over that minute, so I did give him a little bit extra time. Go ahead.
Great point. Very, very, very well said. All we're asking for is a city manager to hold these police officers accountable. I intend to show up at the city manager's house. I'm gonna show up, and if I am not allowed in front of his house, I'm gonna go to his neighbor's house 300 feet away. He better do his job. Steve Mermel had to resign. Look how angry I am. Look how intense I am. We are holding you accountable. If you interrupt anybody else, I'm gonna show up at your house 300 feet away. Test me, try it, say something. Say something, open your mouth right now, say something.
It's still your time. It's still your time. So. Go ahead.
All lives do not matter. When people talk about saving the rainforest, they don't mean burn the redwoods. They mean like, wow, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, what I meant to say is there's a campaign to save the rainforest. That doesn't necessarily mean like we don't give a fuck about other trees. Black lives matter. This is important. We need to hold the city manager accountable. I'm so angry and frustrated. I don't even know how to control myself. We are going to hold the city manager accountable. He needs to fire the police officers. They're killing black and brown people in Northwest Pasadena. I know you're fucking kidding, right?
No.
Oh my God.
Time's up. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
My information is available if you'd like to reach out to me and email or call me.
Anyways, Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
And by the way, can't wait for you to open up the city council meeting again.
Open up what?
The city council meeting in Pasadena are closed, and we're just like we're entirely waiting for them to rip it open.
I can talk about the process in a minute. We're talking about the ideal
I can't wait for the city council meeting to be open. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay.
Not sure.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
No.
No?
Try that now.
Thank you. I'm a little short. Okay, so I do agree with everything that has been said, both the good and the bad. I've been in Pasadena my entire life. My name is Treasure Shepherd. I work here. I sit on a commission. I do a lot of volunteer work. So I understand everybody's perspective. But I will say I could not stand Steve Mermel. He was a horrible city manager as far as justice was concerned, and that needs to be handled on every level, not just race, although race is the most important, I will say. Climate is right there too, because how are any of us gonna live if we don't have that together? So everybody has good points. I just have a few things that I need on that list. So he or she needs to have a proven track record of addressing, with words, actions, and policies, challenges around race, health, socioeconomic, and climate justice and equity. That needs to be proven. I don't want to just hear that he's for it or she's for it. I need to see it from wherever they're coming from. I need to see it time and time again. It can't just be a one-time thing. So that's going to be really tough, and if that is something that you guys make a priority, the right candidate will be here, and they will be in the right seat. Transparency is a must. We need to have that from the day something is brought up. They need to be able to share what's happening behind the scenes with us. I understand that the discussions with the council may be private, but we need to know what's happening and how we can move, or you will get this. You will get frustration. And then the city manager must be able—
I'm going to give you 10 minutes to wrap it, or 10 seconds, sorry, to wrap it up.
Thank you. The city manager must be able to stand up to the norm of Pasadena, which likes to hide a lot of its skeletons in a closet. And so I need us to clean that closet out, and I need us to go ahead and start anew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having this meeting. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Andrea Jennings. I'm a citizen. Sure.
There you go.
Thank you. So my name is Andrea Jennings, and I'm a citizen in Pasadena.
Maybe you need to talk a little closer to the mic.
Sure.
There you go.
Sure. Can everyone hear me now? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So 1 in 4 people in America have a disability, and I'm one of those 1 in 4. As a Black woman with a disability, I have 3 intersections that's considered marginalized. So I want to see a city manager that doesn't do performative checklist types of things. I am a person who volunteers in the City of Pasadena. I'm the vice chair of the Accessibility and Disability Commission. I've worked in Pasadena for major companies. I have a daughter who's a commissioner, the one you just saw. And so we've served this community, but has this community served me at all, at all times? So that's a big ask, but I don't want to see performative things. I want to see a police department that's accountable. No one's perfect, no department is perfect, but I would love to see a city manager who actually hires and appoints people that look like me so that my voice is amplified. I want to see people like me in decision-making spaces. And I want to see a city manager that will reach out to the disability community. For instance, this meeting is not really that accessible, but again, that can be discussed at another time.
10 seconds, okay.
And so just to wrap up, again, I'm looking for someone with servant leadership skills along with collaborative skills to reach out to the underserved and marginalized communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds because you've already had some time, just to be fair to everybody, okay?
Okay. So I don't want a city manager who's going to use the excuse that they're not a politician to avoid community issues that they deem political, or one who will misappropriate federal funds such as the American Rescue Plan Act. Not one who will sign off repeatedly police military equipment, but one who will actively work to defund the PPD, especially for military-grade equipment, such as the city's armed vehicle. Also one that is not okay with the city attorney's office and police department discriminatorily prosecuting local activists or using PPD as their private security, all of which Steve Mermel did do.
Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Elise Mallory, and when I think about the City of Pasadena and what I would like to see in the next city manager, I support what I've heard here in the room, and as Treasurer said, some of the bad comes from areas of frustration, but the point underlying it is one that needs to be heard. And Pasadena is a city of great wealth and poverty. There are the have and the have-nots. And when you start thinking about different areas of Pasadena, there are different treatments in different parts of Pasadena. So most of all, the city manager needs to understand the whole community, everyone in the community. The lack of trust is a big issue. I'm saying that from all the different organizations I work with, and currently I'm working with the NAACP where we have the Pasadena Good Trouble Alliance. And we purely are trying to watch and monitor what's taking place and making sure that we get the things we need so that the citizens of Pasadena feel safe within the city. At this time, I also want to highlight and say we just did a State of Black Pasadena. It is posted on the Pasadena NAACP YouTube page. It'd be a great reference for the new city manager.
What was it?
The State of Black Pasadena.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See if this one's on. Yep. Hey, Wendy.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We're going to go over here. I'm sorry.
I switched it up. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, y'all. Good evening. Nice to be here, and thanks for having us. Do you know
The
the?
mic out if you'd like.
Oh, do you know the population of Pasadena?
Population of
Yeah.
40,000.
Okay. You need to make sure that the next city manager serves all of them. Every last one of them. That's the problem we have here. That's exactly what everybody's really, that's what it points to. Okay? So, yeah. And just between you and me, because I know nobody else is listening and this isn't going out on the internet, don't hire a white male.
Don't what?
Hire a white male. Thank you.
Is this working? Yeah. Okay. My name is Cy Estabrook. I serve on the Accessibility and Disability Commission. Obviously, I have a disability. When California became a state in 1865, the first two cities that were started was Pasadena and Anaheim. You know, Los Angeles and San Francisco, all those cities were already around. But those were the first two cities that were actually established when California became a state. My mother was born in the city. I was born in the city. And my 3 kids were born in the city. So I have a lot of compassion for this city. I taught in the Pasadena Unified School District for a very long time. And one of my students is sitting right here. The hardest time I had in this city was during the Rodney King riots. We could not get no school at all was going on. Not one kid got a decent education in this city for a very long time. And I don't know, I can't understand why some of the problems that we have are, they just boom, out of control. But this city has a lot of character, has a lot of love, and it has a lot to give. But boy, we certainly have some problems that are just so deep. They go all the way back to 1865, when at the end of the Civil War in Louisiana,
I'm sorry.
I got to say this.
Okay.
Black
10
people had to leave because of the Civil War because they lost all of their homes. And they came to Pasadena and they settled Pasadena, so they deserve more than what they're getting.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Gomez. I'm a student here at Pasadena City College. I'm born and raised here in Pasadena as well, and raised in Northwest Pasadena. I did not know this event was happening today. I found out as I heard a guest out there protesting something similar to my experiences. So I don't have anything prepared. But I do believe that the next city manager should be nothing like the former Steve Mermel. And something that stands out that I think the next person should avoid, doesn't have to be a male, by the way. I believe that one cannot say, I'm available when they require appointments to speak to someone from the public. If one of your constituents reaches out, you should probably take their phone number and contact them rather than telling them, my door is open for you to come and speak. Also, this is a campus that requires masks, so if you're not wearing a mask, I would ask for you to please put it on. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to talk about what we should be looking for in an ideal candidate? Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. The city manager that I would like to see, by the way, I'm a city employee, and I'm just asking that the next city manager be somebody that is going to be a leader and lead by example. I want someone that's going to affect leadership through all our departments within the city, build the morale that has been lost with everything that's happened from COVID to the new transitions. I think it's important as city employees that we work on one accord, which has not been happening. Although we have separate departments, we are still one. I think the next leader should be somebody that's going to put their staff in place, that's going to be the leader of those departments, that's going to hold everyone accountable as they do the lower level employees.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you all. I know that it's been a passionate night tonight. I appreciate everybody coming out and saying what you're looking for in an ideal candidate. What I'd like to do is talk about the recruitment process. So I'm going to pull up the dates and then I'll open up some questions. So while you may see the position open right now, we're actually, the recruiters, it's open right now for just to have it open on their website, but we haven't actually rolled out a full recruitment process yet, which is a robust advertising campaign. So that's going to happen on April 1st. So we usually leave it open about 4 weeks, so it'll close on or about April 28th. That's going to be our ideal time for us to hopefully have received all the candidates. We'll have a meeting with council that will present the candidates that they'll be considering. Usually that includes twice as many people than they'll actually invite to interview. The process that happens before that is we don't just review resumes, but I'll be phone screening the top group of that resume, which typically in a position like this is about 30% of the applicant pool. I anticipate getting about 50 or 60 applicants for this recruitment. I'll probably talk to 30, maybe a little bit less people. What I'm looking for there is it's hard for me to present candidates to council without having talked to them. Just having a resume doesn't help me do the matchmaking part of what I'm hearing on my listening tour from this evening, as well as talking to other people. So I'll be able to ask some questions that you don't typically see on a resume. Who are they as a leader? I get to hear their communication styles. What do they think about diversity, equity, inclusion? How have they applied that? Who are they? What does that mean to them? So I'll get definitely the information I'm hearing tonight will help frame those kinds of questions to help me be a better matchmaker. Obviously, there's other things the city manager does to run the city or run, it's the city manager is the orchestrator of the technical experts that run the city. So really having a good handle on some of the different some of the other opportunities and challenges the city's going to be facing and looking for those technical skills to be able to guide and lead the other technicians that are leading the departments. So that's also going to be part of the matchmaking process that hopefully helps me identify a group that I'm going to be presenting to council. So like I said, that usually includes twice as many people as they'll actually invite to interview. Council will make that decision. We'll move them forward to a 2-day interviewing process where we have back-to-back interviews, and that's going to be in April. So that's going to be on Saturday, April 3rd, and Sunday. Sorry, I said April. June, sorry. So let me just back up. We're closing the recruitment in April 28th. We'll have interviews on June 3rd and June 4th. So the first day of interviews are typically getting a chance to see that large group. It tends to be a little bit more one-sided, but it's our opportunity or council's opportunity to identify the larger group to a smaller group. So it's a paring down process on average, but there's no hard and fast. On average, we have about 3 people that move forward to a second day interview. Hopefully from there, we'll have identified a candidate that they want to make an offer to. There's a robust background and reference check that happens there as well. I actually have a third party, one of my consultants who's got a strong background in doing investigations, will be doing the background reference checks. So takes a little separation from the person who wants the person to be successful. So we have that process baked into our process as well. I also guarantee the recruitment for 2 years. So if for any reason the city manager is not successful within that 2 years, or they decide that Pasadena's not the right location for them, or sometimes it's just a matter of life that happens. Aging parents, sometimes I've seen pull candidates back to a community they come from. They can't live there any longer. But we guarantee the recruitment, so we hope this doesn't happen. It's very rare that it does, but we would redo the recruitment without any additional consulting fee. The only thing the city would be paying is for any additional hard cost fees for that recruitment. So I have skin in the game as well. So I want to make sure that you know that we are going to do everything we can to help you find, or your council, the people you've elected, find the ideal candidate that's going to work for your community. And I'm going to open it up to questions. I saw a hand up first over here. Do you mind coming up to the mic because we have the cameras on?
Hi, could you please explain the job description of the city manager? As you know, it's not an elected position, and there's some confusion as to what a city manager actually does or does not do.
Thank you. That's a great question. So the city manager is not an elected position. The city manager is the person that actually helps council, the elected officials, achieve their goals. So council's the one that sets the direction of the city and sets the policy for the city. The city manager's responsibility is to make sure that those goals are happening through the process of the departments and the over 2,000 employees that work for the city. So elected officials are at the policy level. City managers should not be political. They should not be involved in policy. It would be a really bad thing if they were. They are there to not represent what they personally believe. They are there to move forward and make sure that the community's needs and what council's looking for to implement are achieved. So they should be apolitical. You should not be hearing what their personal perspectives are on anything with regards to politics or anything like that. That's not their role, and it would be bad form for them to do that. So that's a summary of my thoughts on what a city manager does.
I just wanted to actually urge you and encourage you to look into the experiences of the staff. I can't remember what her name was, but their experiences with the past city manager. You've heard some of the constituents' experiences, but if you even look online, just do some research beyond what council is telling you, so that you can avoid maybe some of those characteristics when you're interviewing and going through your process. I think knowing what we don't want a little bit better might help you find the right person.
Thank you for that. And just so you know, we also have a staff survey. I hope you know that too. We have a staff survey running the same time that the community survey is running, so we can get at least the core competencies. I know that part of that survey, if you haven't seen it already, it's basically a list of core competencies that are typical that you would want both technically and interpersonally in a city manager. But it also gives a text box free forming process where you can put information in there. But I also have my name and my email on there, my phone number, and there's a reason for that. It's out there in your community. I don't want 140,000 people calling me, but I do want to make sure that it's that anybody who doesn't feel that they've gotten, that they can get what they want across in that format or this format, that they have their voice can be heard and they have an opportunity to get me information. So I do hope that I do hear from people that haven't had a chance to talk with me.
I have a concern about whether the process is likely to get a result that we want. The people in this room have expressed very strong views. And I guess my concern is it sounds like what you're describing is a process that's towards the end of the process, actually. You already have some resumes, some applications, and...
I'll clarify that.
Okay, well, let me kind of explain the concern. Yeah. We have a strong city manager here. We don't have a strong city council. And that's not because they're not great people, it's just the way the thing is set up. They all have full-time jobs. You know, the city council, city manager is very important. And what I'm hearing is, maybe this is wrong, but it doesn't sound that there's any process for setting out the criteria for the applications. It's just going to be kind of you looking at a bunch of applications, and then you seem like a wonderful person, you've heard all these people, but it's just you talking to people, and how likely is it that without affirmatively recruiting and seeking, you're actually going to get candidates who care deeply about transparency? I mean, these are city council people, city manager people, they're professional administrators.
Yeah.
How many of them can talk to PWP? How many of them have that knowledge? How many of them are interested in police abuse? So we're sort of counting on you.
I can answer, I think, yeah.
We're counting on you, and this seems a little, I mean, you're wonderful, I'm sure, but it doesn't sound like a good process to me.
Yeah. I can elaborate on my my outreach is what I think you're talking about.
I'm talking about the process, not you.
Okay.
Not your headhunting firm.
Yeah.
I'm talking about why we don't have a request for candidates based on certain stated requirements, like sensitivity to police abuse,
right.
like transparency, like climate dynamism, climate action.
Right.
I mean, what if you don't get people who you perceive in all good faith as seriously committed to these goals?
Right. I think I can answer that question. So the core competencies that we'll be putting together for the recruitment will actually be in what we'll put together, what we call our recruitment announcement. So it will identify their job, technically, what they have to oversee, the departments, the utilities, the Rose Bowl, all the other core areas of oversight, but also getting to who they need to be to satisfy the needs of the community and what council's looking for. So the, yes, you'll see that. That's what's gonna roll out on April 1st. My website has a job board on that, but it should be in lots of other places. You probably should be able to do an internet search and actually search for it, but it'll also be on the city's website after the 1st. So you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to see the core competencies in that. So that helps people. Identify if they're meeting, if the community is resonating with them, if the core competencies are resonating with them, and that's hopefully helping people decide if they want to be in, if they want to throw their hat in the ring. But the other part of that is also the phone screens I mentioned, or for city manager recruitments, I actually do Zoom screens whenever possible. So that will be part of it too, just an initial kind of getting a chance to hear their thoughts on those core things that everybody's looking for. And then, of course, it is ultimately council's decision. So, they are the persons that hire the city manager, and your community elected them. So they are going to be representative of the community's voice in making a decision on the city manager. So, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just have a few observations over the last few weeks that I've made. One is that, from what you've said, the city manager is in a really impossible situation because we have a city council that doesn't necessarily have the technical expertise to actually make decisions, so they rely on staff. So a lot of it is coordinating staff, not only for implementation, but also with coming forward with ideas on policy that will inform the city council. And so the city manager is in the position of a conductor, but who's uncertain whether the members of the orchestra really know how to play the instruments that they've been handed. So I'll give you one example. The housing elements. So the housing element, I think we're on our third go-around, and at the last meeting on the housing elements, one staff member, I think the head of his department, mentioned that he was surprised that the state of California took seriously the things that they were demanding of the city of Pasadena. So I would say that is a perspective on what a city manager is going to have to deal with. Taking things seriously is an important thing. So now we are in the process of resubmitting after citizen input from the Affordable Housing Coalition, which the state of California said the city needs to pay attention to. So it's back again. So I compare this kind of like to...
So I'm sorry, I'd love to talk with you afterwards, but I just want to make sure, I want to find out if there's a question.
No, I just want to make one other point. Okay. I said, I kind of created a metaphor for this. It's kind of like the city has to put together a jigsaw puzzle without a box top with a cover on it. And beyond that, somebody has inserted pieces from other puzzles. So it's very difficult to get any coherence or any sense out of things when there's this kind of chaotic incoherence that afflicts the city. So the city manager is going to have to find a way to deal with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Looks like we have a question over here. Oh, thank you.
Yes, I did see the survey, and I completed the survey.
Great.
My question is this type of town hall meeting going to be done within the city for employees? I think it's important for a meeting like this to be held for city employees because we have a large group that's at the city yards that don't necessarily have access to computers. But I think it's important that you also hear what's important to city employees and their thought process of what they're looking for the next city manager.
Well, and thank you, I don't know that we were going to plan that. We were actually hoping that we had other employees show up today, but I definitely can take that back and see if there's a possibility. But I think this was for employees and the community at large. So, yeah.
And just to piggyback, a lot of our city employees don't live within the city,
Okay.
so they probably would have loved to attend tonight, but because of
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just kind of maybe two questions is, and the background to the question is, we've never really seen, like we have a lot of people of color in our city who work for the city, but have never broken the ceiling, right, of a city manager, black or brown. And so I wanted to ask a question in your company, kind of a two-way question is, have you in your company being able to, like, how is it placing people of color in such high-profile positions, right? And
Yes.
what is your, like, I don't want to say success rate.
No, I actually have some statistics I can share. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So is that you had another question too?
That's part of the question. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we are proud to say that we've, in our EEO information that we have applicants complete, that over 60% of our applicants that apply for our positions are of diversity, but that also includes gender. So when we say that, it's women and people of color. And we, 50% of our, more than 50%, I think it's at 54% last month when I checked, 54% of the people we place are of diverse, or have a diverse background. So I'm also proud to say that the last city manager recruitment we did, the council hired an African-American female, so for the city of Santa Rosa. So we have a pretty good track record, but again, it's not our decision. What our job is to bring diverse, very talented, diverse candidates forward. That's our job, is to make sure that we have a diverse group, and that includes all races, and all genders, that I'm trying to meet both the technical and interpersonal strengths that I've heard here today, and hopefully that includes diverse candidates.
And then the second part of my question is on answering that, which is pretty good news. It was kind of not to say it's surprising, but pretty good news to hear that.
Yeah.
Is that elephant in the room.
That's okay. And you can come back up too if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Is that from what you've heard from the city employees today? Is that there has been a lot of kind of disgruntlement or probably voices pushed to the back, and usually it is the black and brown. Some of those have been pushed to the back, or ceilings never been broken. How would you articulate that to some of the people that are applying? Because the last city manager was here for 30 years.
Yeah.
So there's a culture set in. There is a way of leadership set in, is what you're kind of hearing from here. And also a way that people feel that this is the way to please the leader, right? And so how do you articulate that Houston, we may have a problem, but you could be the answer to the problem?
Articulate it to whom?
To the applicants.
To the applicants,
in your
okay.
conversation.
Right. So I think that The brochure is a marketing brochure, so it's going to be really positive, although hitting some highlights of what I'm hearing, right? But when I do the initial screening of the candidates, I get to be a little bit more frank and get a chance to really talk about some of the voices I heard, both tonight as well as in other meetings that I've had, in order to be able to make sure that they understand what the community and the council and the staff are looking for in an ideal candidate. And I'm hoping, and this is usually what I see when I get the surveys back, that we'll have a lot of crossover with regards to what I'm hearing everybody's looking for. I'm not hearing anything different. I know council's very interested in finding, a diverse candidate, although they want the most qualified candidate because you have a lot to do in the city. What? Okay, thank you. So I think that that's a good point. So, but I just want to make sure that, I guess what I'm trying to do is I want to clarify that I'm not screening anybody out because they're not diverse. That's really what I was trying to get at. And so I just want to say that I'm hearing lots of messages. There's themes that are going through that I'm hearing a lot of, like affordable housing, those kinds of things, as well as the challenges that you've all brought forward tonight. So I get to be a little bit more frank and hopefully not only tell them what they're going to, make sure that they understand the community that they're going to be coming to and that's a good fit for them, but also that they're excited about taking on those challenges. So I hope that answers your question. I'd like to add one other thing too. We have before I got into public sector recruiting, I had a background in marketing and branding and private sector. I've taken that into recruiting. I really want to do as broad of and as big of an outreach as possible. So we'll be doing print, email distributions, online advertising. We're LinkedIn recruiters, so we go on LinkedIn and we can actually invite people to interview. Hope most of those people have pictures too, so we make sure that we're bringing in diverse people to invite to interview. We have city managers are really easy to find because their information's out there and it's public, and there's usually associations that have city manager, either email or mail addresses. So I get to reach out to all city managers in California and also other places, although California is ideal because California has its unique challenges and different laws and it's just a different culture here than maybe some other communities. So I think California background, from what I'm hearing, is ideal. But the other part of that is that we are a member of called Circa, which just bought Diversity Jobs, and they have many other diverse job boards, and they scrape our website 3 times a day and put our jobs out there on 600 diversity job boards. Multiple associations receive our information that are diverse. So it's our opportunity. The diverse job boards are just getting so expensive. We found a great opportunity that's affordable, but reaches a much broader audience than I was able to reach in my former processes. So we also have that for us too. So I think that's an exciting thing that we just got going over about a month ago. So any other questions? Yes, come up to the mic so everybody can hear. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see you standing over there. He was here first. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks. I'd like you to talk about how prominent your request for candidates is going to be with respect to the existential challenge that we have, which is the climate emergency. Yeah. You might know that the UN recent IPCC report said in bold letters, code red for humanity. We are 9 years away from irreversible damage to the planet, including climate and biodiversity challenges. We need you, please, to reach out to those organizations I mentioned, C40 and the Global Covenant of Mayors. And we need to find a leader in the city manager, a leader among his peers in innovation and bringing innovative ideas when the city council doesn't have them. I sat in on a recent municipal services committee meeting where the city council said, well, let's wait to see what the county does and let's wait to see what the state does. That's BS. Okay. We don't have time to wait anymore. We have an emergency on our hands, and we need a city manager who has the courage to take action.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just let me finish my thought here.
So I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps here by walking up to the microphone, I think.
So I want to just let everybody know that we're just talking about questions now. So do you have questions
Yeah.
about the process?
No,
or-
yes, I have a
Okay.
question about the process.
Sure.
Because you mentioned your marketing background, and
Yes.
you probably well know that in marketing, the low-hanging fruit is the audience that is kind of ready-made for your sales pitch.
Yes.
And if you give the sales pitch of this is a pleasant place, a wonderful thing, those positive things, you're not going to get the person we need. You need to advertise for somebody who wants a challenge, who wants to face issues that are deeply meaningful to a very powerfully educated, committed community of diverse points of view, and that's very divided. So I think you need somebody who wants to have take on that challenge, not somebody who's looking for an easy job.
Can I ask a question? You said face issues that are deeply what?
Divisive, I guess.
Okay. You said something else.
I'm an old man.
I obviously am not holding information long enough either, so, all right, thank you. Yeah, if you have another question, can you come up to the mic?
I asked the question, I don't think you answered it.
Oh.
How prominent is your request going to be with respect to the climate emergency?
So it'll be prominent. I mean, it'll be part of the core competencies we're looking for in an ideal candidate. So there's a lot we're looking for. So it will definitely be, something that is also something I heard from council. So
in addition to the issue that they should be a leader among their peers in taking effective action on the climate emergency.
Yes, you will see that in the announcement we put together. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. What I should have said is thank you so much for coming here tonight. I really appreciate everybody's time, attention, passion, interest in wanting to share your thoughts and your commitment to your community. And thank you so much. And I will spend some extra time with you if you'd like and hang out with me afterwards. Thank you.